Are due to the federal government. And in an act of somewhat inchoate amorphous protest, Americans in many cities around the country gathered in public around their chosen protest symbol today, the tea bag. Although the numbers of teabaggers were not particularly large by American protest standards, the teabaggers, where they did turn out, appeared to be having a ball. They teabagged Boston. They teabagged Washington. There was teabagging in Lansing, Michigan, Nashville, Tennessee, Sacramento, California. If you were not able to witness or participate in any teabagging action yourself today, and frankly, the odds are you were not, you are still in luck. We have some of the highlights for you in the next hour. For example, we're going to start here with a little narrated slideshow, a child's treasury, if you will, of imagery from today's teabagging excitement. One popular item of protest wear was the Chairman Mao-Bama t-shirt, modeled by this happy gentleman in Washington, D.C. Another D.C. protester suggesting that members of Congress should be hanged. Hang 'em high, the sign says here. The sign's listing as traitors in Congress: Pelosi, Reid, Waters, Schumer, Frank, Dodd, Conyers, Kerry, Clinton, and Kennedy. Interesting note here, Senator Clinton not in Congress anymore, a technicality, I'm sure. Also, it's nice to see African-American members of Congress singled out for proposed hanging. It's very historically minded. There was a lot of Obama is a secret Muslim signage on display. This says, "Speak for yourself, Obama. We are a Christian nation." It's being held by a gentleman who is wearing a T-shirt that says, "Stupidity offsets for sale." Obama's not really an American, also a popular theme today. This sign says, "Hey, big brother, show us your real birth certificate." Or this one, this sign says, "Stand idly by while some Kenyan tries to destroy America? I don't think so. Homie, don't play dat." Wow. The ever-popular Obama is Hitler theme was in evidence across the teabagging nation today. This first sign seen at the teabagging in Colorado Springs. This next one, this actually says Barack Hussein Obama, the new face of Hitler. That was in Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. Philly also saw this one. The American taxpayers are the Jews for Obama's ovens. That's very subtle. That gentleman wearing an Operation Chaos hat. Remember that Rush Limbaugh-inspired event from the presidential campaign? For all the hype about the teabagging, for all the high-powered, corporate-funded D.C. lobbyist-driven organizing for today's teabagging, the turnout today can probably best be characterized as a mixed bag. 5,000 people reportedly teabagged Lansing, Michigan. A few hundred teabaggers dropped in on the Massachusetts State House in Boston. In an off-the-beaten-path tea party like the one held in Rockford, Illinois, about 200 people gathered today. Just for context, this is the same Rockford, Illinois, that 2 months ago turned out over 6,000 people for a Motley Crue reunion gig. About 5,000 people reportedly showed up for the Sacramento Tea Party today. That would be slightly less than half the number of people who turned out in the same city in January to see a game between the two worst professional basketball teams in the country, the Wizards versus the Kings. The Tampa Bay Tribune reports, quote, well over 500 people showed up at the noon rally today in Tampa. Just as a point of reference, that would be about half the 1,200 Tampa area residents who turned out last weekend to Ott's Off-Leash Dog Park for the annual Ruskin Pet Fest. You could also compare those 500 or so Tampa teabaggers with the 14,000 Tampa fans who turned out in February to watch the two worst teams in the National Hockey League play each other. Remember the group MillionTeabags.org, which we discussed on last night's show? Their plan was to dump 1 million tea bags on Washington, D.C. today. The 1 million tea bags were delivered to Washington's Lafayette Park, but then they had to be promptly reloaded back onto the truck from whence they came and sent away on police orders. Apparently, the MillionTeabags.org folks never knew that you would need a permit if you wanted to dump a lot of stuff all over a national park. Eager teabaggers were also turned away when they tried to teabag the Treasury Department without a permit. They headed over to that protest in Lafayette Square instead. That protest actually ended up getting broken up early today when someone spoiled the teabagging in the park fun by teabagging the White House lawn. And that sort of thing sounds amusing, unless, of course, you are a member of the United States Secret Service. The organizer of the event in Lafayette Square today told the Washington Post, quote, "This is the largest grassroots demonstration in history." Wow. The largest grassroots demonstration in history? The largest? Wow. What's it like to be at the largest grassroots demonstration in history? Joining us now is someone who was there. Air America's national correspondent and Daily Beast contributor, Anna Marie Cox. She attended the Tea Party in Lafayette Square today, which, of course, left-wing killjoys are already deriding as the fizzle in the drizzle. Anna Marie, thank you very much for joining us. I'm sorry to have interrupted you mid tea experience.
Yes, I was experimenting with the proper use of a tea bag.
How was it today? How was the teabagging in D.C.? Describe the scene.
A little flaccid, Rachel, I have to say. It was very damp today. I also want to say that these people who turned out were truly dedicated to teabagging, and they put a lot of muscle into it. Hopefully, not too much. But I think that they were very, very excited to be there, and we would have to be pretty dedicated in order to show up in the weather that we had today here in Washington, which was really ugly weather. It was rainy and cold. But a few hundred hardy souls came out with their mildly racist signs and their love of their country.
Mildly racist signs such as?
Well, there was a sign of Obama being a shoeshine boy.
Oh.
Yeah. And then there was also one that was, you'll like this one because I know how you like the puns. It said earmarks, EARMARX, and it had a picture of Obama with huge ears and lips.
Oh, yeah. I love a good homonym, but yeah, then you have to go there. Well, I'm confused, though, that they announced that their turnout was 3,000.
They did. From the stage, they announced that their turnout was 3,000. And it was actually a very adorable little stage. I thought it was an umbrella for a long time until I got closer to it. It was really sort of like a picnic table situation, like standing on a picnic table, which gave it a homespun feel. I have to say that. And, again, it was interesting. I am a veteran of many a protest. I confess, from my radical days in college. And this was unlike most of the ones that I went to in college. There were lots of people in suits and ties. There were a surprising number of children being forced to hold propaganda that had to do with holding their future for ransom, or don't teabag me, teabag, I don't want to be teabagged, teabag someone else. I don't know if there are laws about using children in that way in the district, but the whole thing got broken up by police anyway. I don't know if it was the kids. I guess it was the bomb scare.
Well, it was broken up by police after somebody threw something onto the White House lawn. Is that right?
Yes, someone threw tea bags onto the White House lawn, which, of course, the fine granular substances thrown at the White House, that seems like something somebody has that. There's a rumor at some point that terrorists. Terrorists were going to do that. And in fact, it was a little bit of fun. They sent out their robot. The Secret Service sent their robot that undoes bombs, their bomb sniffing robot, I guess. And the robot came and, discovered it was simply tea. And but by that time, the protesters had pretty much disbanded. And I, of course, went to teaism. It's a show of solidarity just down the street.
Well, people wanted to teabag the Treasury Department, and they didn't think to get a permit to do so, and so they couldn't do that. They threw the tea bags on the White House lawn, not expecting that would break up their protest. The million tea bags couldn't be dumped on Lafayette Square because they didn't have a permit. For that, it sort of felt like in the joy and the enthusiasm to teabag, they just overlooked a lot of these important details that you would think you'd need to be able to do in order to pull off a D.C. protest.
Well, the thing is, I guess after you're in power for 8 years, you forget, how to run a decent protest. I'm sure that they'll come up with some more, and I bet they'll get more practice at it. Although I would add another flaw in the plan is all of these anti-tax rallies. Many of them took place in parks, which are normally paid for with taxes unless they've developed another way to have a park. But the whole thing really felt, and also security provided by the police. I can't afford fire truck myself. I can't afford police myself. I don't know what their solution is.
Anna Marie, one last question for you. I was struck today by the fact that there was a teabagging protest at the Alamo.
Yes, that was Glenn Beck was the headliner there. And he has a problem with history in general. A few days ago, he had a Thomas Paine impersonator come on and compare the stimulus package to 9/11. So that's a problem. But I sort of actually am kind of glad. Apparently, he thinks the Alamo is just